All right, Mayor, you can start in 3.
All right, we'll call to order this City Council special meeting agenda for Monday, October 27th, 2025 at 4 o'clock p.m. Roll call certification of quorum. Madam Secretary, I'll certify we have a quorum present as all members of the council are present in the chambers with the exception of Member Shavaria, who did let me know she won't be here for this meeting, but she will be for the regular meeting, and Mr. Patel. Citizens' comments? Oh, Mr. Patel is walking into the building, so he'll be here just shortly. Did we have any citizens' comments turned in? There are none. So with that, we will move to new business. Discussion regarding the capital improvement program, CIP update series, facilities, and parks. With that, we'll turn it over to staff.
Thank you, Mayor. So this is our one of 3 times that we do the capital improvement program update series. This one on facilities and parks. We've got also a little bit of an add-on at the end that gives an update on the 2023 bond program, just some additional requested information. I thought it would be the opportune time to add that on at the end of this. So with that, I'm going to hand it off to Mr. Lorenzo Wingate, Director of Engineering and Public Works, to get us kicked off. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Good afternoon, I'm sorry. We want to welcome you guys back to our CIP update series, as Trent mentioned earlier, for facilities and parks. As we typically kick this program off, we like to start off with tying everything back to our strategic priorities, which are founded on the how. How we get to CIP is trusted government and resilient finances to provide safe community, strong economy, sustainable infrastructure, and a connected community, ultimately to make the city of Pearland the community of choice. So as we go through the presentation this afternoon, we'll share our future with the purpose and how the CIP ties back to several of our priorities and goals. We'll pass it over to budget to talk about some of the budget impacts, and then we'll jump into presentations on facilities and parks, CIP, and O&M related items. And as you guys have in front of you, we have our future with the purpose, which starts out with you guys' strategic priorities that you set early on for us with y'all's workshop. And from your workshop, we develop a few plans, such as the comprehensive plan that we utilize to develop supplemental plans, such as the water master plan and wastewater master plan. The drainage master plan, I think you guys have seen the thoroughfare plan and seen updates to those. Thoroughfare plan recently, and the parks master plan also is getting ready to be updated. So we use those master plans as guidance tools to develop our CIP program, and you guys will hear more on those projects later on. Right now, where we stand in the CIP workflow is we are right now getting ready to wrap up the first quarter. The way the meetings are broken up, we kind of run through the first and second quarter, and the next time you guys will see us presenting back to you guys will likely be in that transition period between the quarters. So right now we are gathering projects from the different departments, from the different stakeholders to develop and actually start initiating the process of developing new projects and modifying existing projects. And then we'll continue to work through that process and come back to you guys in the future with next stages throughout that presentation. Our CIP calendar right now, you guys are getting the parks and facilities update in October of 2025. We'll be back in front of you guys shortly in the next month or so with updates on water and wastewater CIP in December. And then we'll wrap up the CIP presentation with transportation and drainage before we jump back into presenting the FY27 CIP round of projects to you guys. At this point, I'll pass the presentation over to Ms. Erica Weekly with the Office of Management and Budget.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I'll review the key milestones and budgetary implications related to the fiscal year 26 Capital Improvement Plan. Earlier this year, on September 8th, City Council approved the fiscal year 26 Capital Improvement Plan. This approval outlines the planned infrastructure investments and major projects for the upcoming fiscal year. Then, on October 13th, Council approved the intent to reimburse for fiscal year 26. This step allows us to begin spending on approved projects up to the listed amounts even before the actual debt is issued. It's important to note that while this authorization lets projects move forward, Council still needs to approve the awards for each individual project as they come up. Looking ahead to May 2026, we expect to complete the fiscal year debt sale. The timing of this sale is significant because any debt issued in fiscal year 26 will affect the fiscal year 27 debt rate. Similarly, if we make changes to the fiscal year 27 capital improvement plan, those adjustments will influence the fiscal year 28 debt rate. Finally, it's important to remember that operations and maintenance costs are built into each CIP project. These costs are included in the budget during the year the project becomes operational. We also incorporate these ongoing expenses into our multi-year budget forecast and rate model to ensure long-term financial stability. Thank you. I'll pass it to Fabiola.
Thank you, Ms. Weekly. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council members. Before I start on the project updates and more project-specific information, I want to give you an overview of the current and future capital projects division workload. In front of you is the total number of facilities and parks projects based on the project phase, either in study, design, or construction. We have 2 projects total in study, 6 in design, and 7 in construction between facilities and parks. For the future projects, we have listed here the total number of projects for parks and facilities in each fiscal year. This current workload is in addition to existing projects that have already started or are listed here, or they are planned to have the construction started in fiscal year 25. If we consider all the projects among the other disciplines in addition to parks and facilities such as water, wastewater, drainage, and streets, with the fiscal year 26 capital improvement plan approved by Council, we are committed to manage over 130 projects. As you can see, we have a significant number of projects. We currently have approximately 80 projects active right now. With the new approved CIP for fiscal year 26, approximately additional 30 projects will be managed by capital projects. Between senior project managers, and engineer 1, they are managing an average of 11 projects each person. We recently hired 2 more staff members, making the team grow from 10 to 12, not all with project management role. And with the additional new projects that will be starting in fiscal year, this load will not make much of a difference, still being 11 projects per each staff member. Ideally, we would like to keep an average number around 6 to 8 projects per project manager, depending on the complexity of the project. I will now go over some of the facilities projects currently in the fiscal year 5-year CIP. We'll look at facilities projects that have been completed in the last 2 years, projects that are currently in design or construction phase, the ones that will be starting in fiscal year 26, and anticipated future projects beyond fiscal year 26. At the end of the presentation, we'll open up for questions. This graphics a snapshot of the recently approved budget amounts for the fiscal year 26 capital improvement plan and the projected totals for fiscal years 27 through 30. Overall, the 5-year program totals out to approximately $128 million, except for fiscal year 30, which means the plan does not include any facilities projects yet. Council, please remember that fiscal year 26 reflects the budget already approved by Council. Future year budgets are listed for financial planning purposes and can be increased or decreased depending on city needs, Council's direction, and funding availability. The slide also includes projects for future bond program. Keep in mind that as we start developing the next 5-year CIP, the recommended projects for fiscal year 27 will be the ones that will impact the debt for fiscal year 28 and so forth. Here are the facilities projects completed from 24 through 25. Although we have many projects on the works and more to come, there is a team behind that make it all happen. With that said, I want to recognize the accomplishments of the project managers and construction manager and inspectors. They are the cornerstone for guiding projects to success. But we also like to thank other departments, divisions that work alongside with us that makes this possible, such as engineering, community development, parks, facility, fire, communications, GIS, etc. The listed above on this slide are the projects that are under design, where we have a contract for professional services in place. The completion year shows the estimated design completion year. The amounts listed are for the design budgets. The Orange Street Service Center project is dependent on the completion of the Hill House Road Annex Phase 2 project completion, so fleet and facilities can move to the new location at Hill House Road. Currently, we are still programming for the new planned building, which is estimated to be approximately 50,000 square feet, to house Pearland Water staff, which are currently located in scattered buildings throughout the site, provide storage and serve as emergency shelter in times of emergency for public works first responders. The program ensures staff accounts for the current and future needs. The emergency distribution warehouse is at 90% design completion. Staff provided comments back to the architect consultant on the 90% documents. The site is having to be replatted, which was not anticipated. This facility will include approximately 5,000 square foot prefabricated metal building to house supplies in times of emergency to assist the community. This table shows the projects that are currently in construction. The calendar year and calendar quarter identifies when the construction is to be completed per the contract. The construction delivery method and construction budget are also listed. I will not go over each one of these projects, but we'll highlight a few of them. Here's another project that is under construction. The Hill House project is currently under construction and on budget and on schedule to be completed by December of this year. This construction includes new buildings for fleet and parks maintenance. Once completed, it will allow the Fleets and Parks Maintenance Division to move out of the Orange Street outbuildings, and then we can start the improvements needed at the Orange Street location, which is part of the Orange Street Service Center Phase 2 project as mentioned on the previous slide. These are the pictures for the current construction site. And here are more pictures from the interior of the buildings at Hill House as of September of this year. The Train Depot building is currently undergoing renovations to give appropriate space to the communications department staff and also to the public. Photos here show the installation of a new handicap ramp which follows ADA requirements, and also interior construction photos. This project is expected to be completed in December of this year. The Water Operations Building, also known as the Alice Water Plant, was awarded a contract for construction in July of this year. The notice to proceed was issued this past August, and substantial completion is estimated for August of next year, with a final completion in September. Here are some renderings on what the facility will look like when completed. This facility will be able to house 25 staff members from Pearland Water. The construction of this project was combined with the McLean Water Production Facility Rehabilitation, which is a water project to better allocate city resources. The list in front of you showcases projects that will be started in fiscal year 26, and we have 3 projects planned for this fiscal year. Anticipated future projects are projects that have not started design, study, and are or scheduled for the next fiscal years. We have 6 anticipated future facility projects. They have not been funded yet, but are listed in the CIP for the purpose of financial planning, laying out what is needed, location, and timing over the 5 years. By developing a 5-year CIP, it helps the city to coordinate strategic planning, financial capacity, and physical development to ensure sustainable growth and improving the community's infrastructure. As you know, the CIP is a working document and is reviewed and updated annually to reflect changing community needs, priorities, and funding opportunities to ensure that the infrastructure exists to advance the community's strategic and long-term goals and objectives. This is one of the future projects. The 80,000 square foot public safety building was constructed between 2010 and incorporated a thermoplastic olefin roof membrane to meet lead heat requirements. This material has about 20-year life expectancy and has been in service for 15 years and is beginning to show fatigue in high-stress areas on corners producing leaks. The facility's condition assessment done in 24, confirmed the need to replace the roof and identified as priority 4 for future life cycle replacement, which means a high priority asset. Over the next 7 to 10 years, maintenance and repair will increase at a minimum 15% year over year due to the ongoing stress on the membrane surface caused by climate and aging issues. This project will replace the complete roof with a thermoplastic olefin roof. The replacement is scheduled for 2028. Council, this completes the CIP facilities project updates, and at this time, I would like to turn the presentation over to Mr. Heyman, Deputy Director of Engineering and Public Works, to give an overview of the division's operations and maintenance.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Thank you for an opportunity to share a few highlights and updates from our Facility Services Division. This may seem a little different than past shares regarding streets and drainage and grounds maintenance services, but we're excited to build upon the foundation laid previously, leverage prior lessons learned, and infuse a similar level, of data-driven approach and a programmatic approach to facilities maintenance. Although small but mighty, our facility maintenance team manages 62 city buildings, ranging from multi-storied facilities to small outbuildings and maintenance structures. This team provides a varying range of services from HVAC, plumbing, and electrical to custodial, painting, decor, and construction management. Throughout fiscal year 25, this team received a total of 1,472 service requests, and from those, 1,453 work orders were generated that required some varying level of support or work activity. In addition to a reactive response to necessary repairs such as water leaks or failed ACs in the middle of the night, this team is also focused on a proactive and preventative maintenance plan to extend the life of our critical facility assets and ensure a level of usability to our over 900 plus internal customers. This is a slide you've seen before, which outlines the separation of our community in delineated zones, which individual facility staff members have been assigned. In addition to the separation of our community, this slide captures critical attributes such as maintained space, assets within each of those zones. But why is that important, you may ask? It's believed that by separating the community and assigning specific locations to a specific maintenance technician, we not only build familiarity with physical structures and critical components, but we can also improve our customer experience through relationship development and connectivity, tying back to our mantra of People First Pearland. As mentioned in my opening statements, it's our intent to build from the foundation laid and grow the facility maintenance program using data and GIS capabilities. One step in that direction is before you now. In real time, each time a work order is submitted via CityWorks, that's our city's work order management software, that work is spatially assigned and represented in this newly minted interactive facility dashboard. This resource allows a facility team to more easily manage requests within dedicated zones, measure workload for individual technicians, and more efficiently address facility or customer-related needs. This image captures the same division of the community as in the assigned areas for each technician, as well as the current workload, which can be filtered between zones, individual buildings, and based on actual work types. In addition to our work order information, the team, in conjunction with our asset management and GIS teams, can now manage the work order request within each of our facilities. This is helpful to better understand where the lion's share of work exists. The use of the facility based on our customer and public needs, as well as aid in forecasting future capital projects based on condition, age, and failures. This slide illustrates that since implementation of CityWorks in 2021, the Public Safety Building has generated the highest amount of work orders, with Pearland West Library coming in second and the Rec Center in a close third. It's important to note that in addition to our firehouses and PSB, which are operated 24/7, and we do anticipate added wear and tear on equipment and in the facility itself just because of the added use. I'll add that since the opening of our surface water treatment plant here recently, we now have an additional facility type with 24/7 operations. Similarly, both the library and rec center are some of our most heavily used spaces, supporting Pearland as a destination of choice for our residents. But before we move from this slide, I'll offer the delineation of colors within each stack indicates the different work order types associated with each location. For example, the most frequent requests in PSB, or our public safety building, have been electrical repairs, with building decor in second and plumbing repairs in third. I will add that building decor is not the typical first thought that comes to mind, a good trip to Hobby Lobby or Kirkland's, but rather hanging or installation of items such as key facility operational needs, whether that be dry erase board and necessary furnishings within a structure. Again, it's believed that this data will help us make a more informed decision in the future and aid in equipment or specifications development. Similar to the ability to review repair requests by work type or facility, the team has also built within this dashboard the capability to track our equipment, labor, and material cost associated with each facility. This information is fed live from CityWorks each time our work order is closed, and a technician captures the cost of time and materials associated with each task. From this, we can take a deeper dive into the actual cost of doing business, as well as the cost of maintenance for each facility. The value this brings to the organization is the potential for improved financial forecasting, as well as budget development. And the image before you indicates that since transition to CityWorks, we've invested approximately $2 million in general repair and maintenance activities. If desired, we can distill that information down even deeper to each facility for a specific duration of time, or even view based on a specific work order or asset type. It's anticipated that this tool as well will aid in budget alignment and better determining contract values associated with the key assets such as HVAC, plumbing, and electrical in the very near future. And I'll also add that this tool can immediately export expense reports, which improve our internal communications and accuracy when managing the facility internal service fund with the Office of Management and Budget. Lastly, with regards to our data collection and program-based approach, as you're aware, there's been much conversation over the past year with facility fire safety and compliance. The team has heard those requests and worked to collect and capture that pertinent fire safety asset information. This image here illustrates the geographic location of each of our fire assets within a facility, ranging from an individual fire extinguisher to a fire alarm panel or enunciators, to help us quantify each of the asset types, locations, and key components. This data will allow future contracts to be based on specific requirements associated with each facility, ensure timely services, maintain compliance, allow better budget forecasting, and contract value assignment. It's our intention to build from this platform for collection of all other key assets, such as our HVAC, plumbing, and integral components, to develop a similar program-based approach for each of those service areas. And while I'm on the topic of fire safety, I'm happy to report that since award of our contract in July for fire safety inspections, all of those safety inspections have been conducted to all of our city-owned facilities. The team's currently to address a few remaining repair items that were identified as part of those inspections, but again, moving forward with full steam ahead on that project. So we've touched on the workload and what we're doing to monitor, measure, and assign. But aside from preventative maintenance, how do we know when there is a facility-related need? Well, I'm here to tell you there is now an app for that. Earlier this summer, in conjunction with the good folks in IT and communications, the team developed and deployed an application that's been pushed out to all city staff phones. This app allows our internal customers the ease of work order submission with the click of a button. While a team member is walking the halls or sitting in their office or anywhere inside a city facility for that matter, a work order can immediately be generated via this app. And more importantly, this application is connected directly to CityWorks, which only requires a few key points of information and even offers real-time photo attachment per submission. Those submissions are then routed to our facility leadership team for assignment to the appropriate technician or the contracted service provider, and updated on the dashboard in real time. So it's the intent of this tool to improve communication internally, reduce the potential for phone calls that have a risk of being unactioned or fall between the cracks, and ensure that we have accurate recordation of facility work needs as well as those associated costs. As we take our next steps into the future and grow this service, we intend to build upon the main guiding documents that steer our facility program. Those documents start with the internal service fund policy, which indicates the general services and areas this team maintains. This is a living document, and the team is focused on pertinent updates as we speak. In addition to that, we lean on our Pearland customer service standards, which outline how we respond and serve one another. And next steps for this team is to develop an internal service level expectation intended to outline our level of services as well as the frequencies of each. So I'll add that this will be a comprehensive list with many stakeholders to ensure the sustainability and alignment between both our customers and our asset and structure needs. In addition to policies and procedures, it's important to remind those in the room and as well as those online that this program is sustained financially as an internal service fund. The intent of this fund is to better forecast and account for critical services and capital replacements as necessary. The program is dependent on transfers from stakeholder departments, which is why we emphasize the importance previously of accurate financial tracking during the dashboard portion of the discussion. I would be remiss not to share a little bit about the team. The group responsible for this lift is a team of 9 facility professionals with a combined experience of over 100 years. Our team is led by the facility manager, John Bell, who unfortunately had to step away for just a moment, but I'm happy to make his introduction afterwards. John is the newest member of this team with a lifetime of facility maintenance responsibility and experience, ranging from TxDOT to the DMV corrections as well as local government experience. In addition to our manager, the team is comprised of a supervisor, 4 maintenance technicians, those individuals that are assigned into dedicated zones that we discussed previously, as well as 3 custodians. Again, this team of 9 is tasked with the maintenance of all 62 facilities, totaling approximately 500,000 square feet, or if you're a Houston native, half the size of the Houston Astrodome. Slide before you illustrates the facility growth year over year since 2015 compared to the static staffing level during that same time span. As you'll see, the team's span of responsibilities has almost doubled while the critical assets continue to age and wear. As such, this program and all services require a combination of both in-house team member services as well as contractual services to champion the lift. And in closing, while it's our intent to monitor, measure, develop a comprehensive program-based approach to facility management, we offer this glimpse of where we intend to be in the future. This proposed org chart aligns with the staffing study conducted by Barry Dunn last year and anticipated approximately 6 new staff members for a total of 15. This expansion provides a focused approach to project management, improved span of control, programmed and dedicated resources to preventative maintenance, as well as vital support for the increase of maintained spaces. Again, it's our intent to better illustrate the need for these team members with a data-driven approach, but based on the recent months and deep dive into the program, there's no doubt that these needs are currently present and that the shortfall continues to lead to service delays, increased contractual support reliance, cost, as well as detrimental impacts to our critical assets. For reference, industry standard typically recommends 1 full-time employee for general maintenance services per 50,000 square feet of maintained facility space. With that, I'll say thank you again for your time and attention, and I'll turn it back over to Mr. Epperson for questions and comments.
To you, Mayor and Council.
All right, we'll open it up for questions, comments, concerns from City Council. Ms. Cade?
Thank you, Mayor. On slide number 30, the maybe this is normal, and please tell me, but is the newest building, or what is the newest building? The West Side Library or the animal shelter? The newer buildings are getting the most work orders and service requests. Is that normal?
Interface the public more.
Yes, ma'am. So between the facilities that are staffed 24/7, whenever we talk about, our public safety building, for example, that houses team members day in and day out nonstop, as well as those heavy occupied facilities from our community. You look at the rec center, you look at West Pearland Library, there's a tremendous amount of interaction in those buildings and a lot of positive traction. And that use equates to the generation or need for additional work order or work and maintenance within those buildings.
Perfect. Thank you. I didn't think about that. Thank you.
Sheer volume of traffic adds to it. You probably look at those requests, and it's probably things that are, yeah. Mr. Carbone?
Thank you, Mayor. Back on the slide for the emergency distribution warehouse, I think there was a comment about platting that delayed it? Can you expound on that?
Yes, when we were designing, during the design process, we realized that the project needed to be platted, and it delayed a little bit. I can get a little more information and provide that to you. And we are at 90% completion design, and we should be starting construction soon in the next 5 months.
Do we do a pre-development meeting?
I have to check and provide you with that information.
All right, I'm glad we're following our own rules, but it just sounded odd that
Right.
it was delayed due to plating we didn't anticipate.
Yeah, I have to get that information. This project was originally managed by another project manager that is no longer with the city, and I can't speak to if that was, but I could verify and double check and provide that information.
I would imagine, because building 1 there where the admin office is used to be PD, so that building is probably 30+ years old, if not older. My guess is it wasn't platted to begin with, so, and it was realized at some point we needed to.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
to your point, pre-development, if we did,
Should have caught that.
should have caught it.
Yeah. And if you go to slide 24, on this roof replacement, is this a full replacement, or I know we'd had some discussions in the past in terms of coatings. Have we looked into that?
I'll have to check if we looked at coatings, but this project includes the full replacement.
Okay. I know a local vendor has been out there to consult with some staff, and I think it came in at 20% of the full replacement cost with a extended 20-year warranty. So, I would.
Lorenzo, I know we've had those conversations, haven't we? So,
Yeah, so we've had that vendor come out and take a look at it. It kind of helped us kind of tighten up on some of the numbers in the budget. But the budget was what it was at the time. So when we go back out, there's a potential that we could use in a different, either that vendor's potential roof type, or I think the original plan was, when we looked at it, was we would have to redesign the entire structure, or at least the entire project would have to be designed. But having this guy come out before helped us kind of hone in on on what the project really could become.
Okay. I look forward to seeing some more info on that.
Questions, comments? Mr. Patel?
Thank you, Mayor. And I guess, Trent, I'm going to ask you this question. You can defer this. I'm just curious. You were talking about 11 projects are given to, or 11, I guess you want to aim between 5 and 6 projects per person. Do you guys specialize each person to handle certain type of projects, or is it everybody's handling all sorts of projects depending on where they're located?
So we assign project managers depending on their experience on the projects. We don't have any specific project managers to just handle, for example, in discipline or just water and wastewater. So depending on the complexity of the project or the familiarity of the project, that's how we assign project managers. It's one of the things that we use.
So I guess the other question I have is, in 5 years, right now, I know it's never going to happen, but it's 0. What would your plan be to bringing all these additional employees on? And if we slow down and we don't have the projects, I mean, we're going to have to start laying them off, or is it worth hiring outside consultants to do these projects for a while, and then whenever we don't need them, turn it off?
are we asking more on the project management side or the facilities maintenance side?
No, project management side.
Okay.
So on the project management side, I think you'll always have a need for CIP project managers, just depending on what that workload is going to be going forward. Right now, we have had some opportunities to bring in some outside resources, but that's because we don't have enough people on staff. But with anything, we'd have to figure out what that balance looks like between having the in-house personnel or contracting those services out. When you look at contracting those services out, you got to also consider that that's going to be factored into your CIP budget. and there's also other implications that comes up with on the financial side.
Yeah, and I guess for me, if you think about it that way, it may be cheaper to finance it, sell it through a bond, than have it reoccurring costs, right? So if it's part of the project, I can finance it, pay for it, pay it over 30 years at a very low rate instead of having somebody come on and incur costs for several years, right? Once the position is given to you, then or increase, and he's just going to have a vacant position. If they leave, we're always going to say, oh, well, we got a budget, we have a vacant position. I guess my point is, at some point, things hopefully come to reasonable, right? Where we don't need as many people. So it's just a thought that what is the project, what does it look like if it slows down? What if we don't have 5 to 6 projects per person? What does it look like, right? Just a question to think about.
So I'll take that one. So I think if we did see a smaller CIP in the future, less projects and things like that, we would evaluate the number of staff we have dedicated to that. Because those costs for that in-house staff is also being allocated out to the different funding sources. So that's how that group is funded. And if there was less of a need, we could back off on the next time we have an opening. I think what we've seen to this point with the growth in the city and the infrastructure needs is that they typically have outstripped our ability to bring on additional personnel, and we've always used staff extensions through engineering firms and other construction management type firms to fill in those gaps. But if we got to a point in the future where fewer projects, fewer dollars being spent on the capital, then we would scale back.
Mr. Fernandez?
Thank you, Mayor. Slide 22, please. The top one, fire station number 7. Do we have any updates on the SAFER grant that we applied for?
I don't see Mr. Joel Hardy in the room, but we actually talked about it this morning, and we do not have any updates.
Okay. And that's still pending this decision?
Yes, sir. I think we've got a design contract we're ready to bring forth, so we can go ahead and start the design work, but we would just work through the design and hold off on any construction until we know what that looks like from an operational cost standpoint with the SAFER grant.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Patel? Yeah. You're good.
Sorry, Mayor. Thank you. Trent, I remember when I got on board, there was an issue with the water treatment plant. I mean, sorry, the project, the water treatment, I guess, project we built. One of the things I remember, the engineer we used was out of town, and they didn't certify or design it or inspect it for TWIA. Do you remember that? And then, do you guys remember that it wasn't?
I remember a TWIA issue. But
Yeah, I think there
That's
was
right.
an issue on the what is our southeast plant, or the plant there adjacent to the Bailey Road overpass.
And so I'm just curious, because you guys are building this emergency plan. I just want to make sure it's designed to the wind load, and it's been inspected. That's the more important thing, I guess, by an engineer to certify that it meets the.
Are we talking about the warehouse?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so it hasn't been built yet, but yeah, it's being designed, I believe, to our higher wind standards that we do with all of our critical facilities, and it'll go through those processes.
And it's going to get a WPI, I believe, 8 or some. form like that.
WPI 8, yes, sir.
Okay,
So-
I just want to make sure. All right.
Yep, that was something we may have missed in the past, but going forward, we know to emphasize that Pearland's in the wind zone, so we have to make sure that we include that as part of the scope.
Good deal. Real quick, slide 32 real quick. Just want to make sure, did Josh put a hole in the wall?
Yeah, that was a very costly video, and
Anyway,
photo
sorry,
shoot.
that was right. Actually, Mr. Patel brought up a good line of questioning on slide 8, talking about the number of people in the department and so common practice 6 to 8 projects per staff, and then capital projects currently 11 projects per staff, and we've had this conversation before, and that is, are we stretching a project manager too thin on some of these projects, and if so, what does that cause, in the projects itself, and I know we've talked about slowing some stuff to make sure that we have the right expertise on the ground doing it. It's hard to get project managers. Now, that might change a little bit right now with the slowdown with TxDOT and some of the other things. Some of the firms out there maybe slowing some work down, so it might be easier to get a project manager for the next couple of years as that market, you know, adjusts. So I know we've talked about in the past, and I know Trent, we've talked about, you know, do we just intentionally slow a few things down because we don't have the internal resources to do it. And to the point, when we go outside, it generally costs us more than keeping it, you know, in the house. And so that'd be one thing to consider. And then slide 28, just was going to ask, this is on the dashboard, 29, one more, sorry. Next, yeah, there you go. Up in the upper left-hand corner, see that big spike on work orders by month, 254 in that 1 month. That was June, I don't know what year. Yeah, 23. Any idea why we had a big spike?
I can look into it here shortly, Mayor, but I would anticipate that it was associated with either an extreme weather event or a preventative maintenance program where we're working to collect all the information, say HVAC, quarterly HVAC work that takes place, and we want to collect that information and work.
That came by and I saw that spike and I'm like, what? I was thinking initially 24, July of 24, and that would have been Beryl. And that would have made sense, but I was just kind of wondering. Any last call for questions? We're going to move on.
Mayor, remind me real quick, the library, do we get reimbursed by the county for the library? Or
No, we pay for the building and grounds and maintenance of all the physical assets. They pay for all the operations, books, materials, all that internal. Yep. All right. Next up.
Let's talk about the projects that enhance quality of recreational spaces for residents, improve overall community well-being, among other great benefits, parks. We'll look at parks projects that have been completed in the last 2 years, projects that are currently in design or construction phase, the ones that will be starting in fiscal year 26, and anticipated future projects beyond fiscal year 26. At the end of the presentation, we'll open up for questions. This graphic showcases the recently approved budget amounts for fiscal year 26 for Park CIP and the projected totals from 27 through 30th. As you can see, the 5-year totals come out to approximately $51 million. Again, the funding for fiscal year 26 has been approved by council. The future years are estimates for financial planning purposes and can be increased or decreased depending on city needs, council's direction, and funding availability. Keep in mind that as we start developing the 5-year CIP, the recommended projects for fiscal year 27 will be the ones that will impact that for fiscal year 28 and so forth. Here are the parks projects completed in fiscal in 2025. The Shadow Creek Trail Phase 2 was completed in early 2025, and here are some pictures of the final trail at Shadow Creek. Centennial Park restaurants, Fields 5 and 6 were completed in this fiscal year as well, actually the fiscal year 25. Here are some pictures of the prefabricated building being installed and final completed product on the right. This project funding included hot funds. Listed here are projects currently under design phase. Please note that the Centennial Storage Building, it's not a CIP project, but capital projects assisting the Parks and Recreational Department are moving forward with this project by managing the design and construction phases. The completion year is when the design is estimated to be completed, and the budgets listed here are for the design. During the 2023 bond election, the voters passed the Parks and Recreation Bond for approximately $34 million to make improvements to Hickory Slough Sportsplex and Independence Park. Proposed improvements at Hickory Slough Sportsplex includes the addition of 6 additional sports fields, which 3 will be the synthetic turf fields within the expanded detention pond, among other improvements. This project was also combined with other 2 drainage projects to ensure concurrent construction, not only to save on costs like mobilization, inspection, testing, etc., but to improve resource utilization and minimize inconvenience. Pearland Economic Development Corporation and the city have entered into a joint funding agreement for the city's parks expansion. Through this agreement, PEDC is funding 100% of the capital costs and most of the O&M costs necessary for this park. The project is currently under design, and design is estimated to be complete by late this November. Construction will start in the first quarter of 2026 and be completed in the summer of 2027. Council, this project has been listed as under construction, but Parks is currently finalizing the contract, and this project is expected to start within 1 month. Beginning in 2019, Parks and Recreation began implementing the $500,000 allocated funds over the subsequent 5 years to park improvements through voter-approved funding. Staff prioritized facilities that were in the worst condition or unsafe, followed by areas that required the most amount of staff time making repairs. Recapitalization projects year 1 through 4 have been completed. The year 5 program, as I mentioned, will soon have construction contract in place to do the sidewalk connectivity by completing the gaps and also correcting some sidewalks identified in the Parks Master Plan condition assessment. Also, part of the funding will be utilized for the playground replacement at Creekside Park, which will be presented to council for consideration and authorization sometime in the first quarter of fiscal year 26. We only have 2 parks projects planned to start in fiscal year 26. The Clear Creek Trail Segment 5 is in progress and in partnership with Harris County and should be starting design in fiscal year 26. And the Phase 2 improvements to Independence Park will build off infrastructure and amenities completed in Phase 1. The planned amenities include the incorporation of the adjacent detention pond as a usable park amenity lake, additional landscaping, parking, internal trails, and sidewalk connections, among other improvements. Phase 2 improvements also include expansion of the playground and construction of a splash pad. The City of Pearland has partnered with the Forever Parks Foundation, a nonprofit organization that raises funds to support parks and recreation in the Pearland area. It is our goal that together we raise additional funding to ensure the playground and splash pad both incorporate fully inclusive elements into the design. We have contracted with a landscaping architect firm that developed conceptual plans, which were provided to Forever Parks Foundation to assist in this fundraising. So far, Forever Parks Foundation has secured approximately $1.4 million in funding and has an additional $500,000 in commitments. We're all excited about this project, and we value the partnership with Forever Parks Foundation. The preliminary engineering report for the future bond referendum, which is estimated for fiscal 27, is the only project for future years within the 5-year CIP plan. Council, this completes the CIP Parks project updates, and at this time, I would like to turn the presentation over to Ms. Capers, Director of Parks and Recreation, to give you an overview of the department's operations and maintenance.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor and City Council, and I want to thank you for the opportunity to present today, as well as for your ongoing support of Parks and Recreation. As Fabiola highlighted, Pearland has made tremendous strides in expanding and enhancing our park system. She shared recent project accomplishments and what's coming up over the next few years. Today, I'll provide a broader snapshot of our complete park system, highlighting key capital achievements from the past decade and discuss what these investments mean for our operations and maintenance. At the heart of this presentation is balance, continuing to grow our park system to ensure Pearland is the community of choice while ensuring we have the resources and staff necessary to sustain it for the future. Parks and recreation services are essential to a thriving community. A recent national study conducted by the National Parks and Recreation Association showed that 90% of U.S. adults believe parks and recreation are essential local government services. Reflecting the same sentiment at the local level, Pearland's 2025 community survey conducted by Polco found that 85% of Pearland residents believe parks and recreation is essential and very important. This is because a well-developed park system makes our community a desirable place to live. Our park system provides a source of positive economic benefit. Pearland's parks attract new residents and businesses, increase revenue for the city, stimulate private investment, and create jobs. According to the City Park Alliance, parks can improve the local tax base and increase property values anywhere from 8 to 10%. In fact, a study by Texas A&M professor Dr. John Crompton found that property values can increase by as much as 22% the closer a property is to a park. Beyond property values, park and recreation programs generate revenue through fees and charges, while also producing substantial indirect economic impact from sports tournaments and special events that draw visitors to our community. Access to public parks and recreation services play a vital role in making our community healthier, both physically and mentally. Parks provide opportunities for exercise and increased physical activity, reduce stress, and improves overall mental health. As Pearland continues to grow and become more densely populated, investments in parks and green infrastructure are also critical to building a resilient community. Just as we must expand our roads, utilities, and other built infrastructure, we must also strengthen our interconnected system of green spaces. These spaces conserve natural ecosystems, sustain clean air and water, and provide important benefits for both people and our wildlife. As we've seen, parks and recreation are essential to our community's quality of life, economic vitality, and long-term resiliency. The question then becomes, how do we ensure we are planning for the future in a thoughtful and strategic way? The Parks Master Plan, Multimodal Master Plan, and the Clear Creek Trail Master Plan were all developed through extensive community and stakeholder input, combined with research and analysis of industry trends. These plans form the strategic framework that guides everything that we do, from long-term capital improvement projects to the day-to-day decision-making. Beyond shaping our priorities, these master plans are also essential for us to maintain our CAPRA accreditation, and they serve as a requirement for many of the grant opportunities that help us fund park and trail projects. In short, our master plan not only helps us chart our course for Pearland's park system, but it also ensures that we have resources and recognition needed to bring those plans to life. With our current master plan guiding today's decisions, it's equally important to look ahead and ensure the future of Pearland's park system continues to reflect the needs and priorities of our community. That's where the 2025 master plan update comes in. The 2025 master plan update, similar to previous plans, is being developed through public engagement, evaluation of national trends, and a thorough assessment of our trail and park inventory. The 2025 master plan update is progressing steadily, with approximately 43% of the work completed to date, and remains on track for adoption in the spring of 2026. Over the past decade, the city has made transformative investments in our parks, guided by the 2015 and 2020 master plans. Since 2018, these efforts have reshaped the park system, delivering new facilities, expanding recreation opportunities, and creating inclusive spaces for all residents. Since 2018 alone, we've completed Phase 1 improvements at Independence Park, opened the Dolores Fenwick Nature Center, built Phases 1 and 2 of the sports complex at Shadow Creek Ranch, added 2 new softball fields and restrooms at Centennial Park, created the Ed Thompson Inclusive Park, and expanded our trail network by more than 8 miles. From our neighborhood parks to trails, recreation centers, sports complexes, and even the restored habitat areas, our Parks and Recreation team works hard every day to protect, maintain, and bring to life our amazing public spaces. When most people think of park maintenance, mowing the grass, cleaning the restrooms, and emptying trash come to mind. But the work goes much deeper. Our maintenance teams also handle irrigation systems, manage sports field lighting, inspect playgrounds for safety, set up for special events, respond to storm damage, and even care for natural areas and trails. With over 19 parks, 547 acres of parkland, 29 athletic fields, and 20 miles of trail, the team's job is massive. With so much to do and dozens of parks spread throughout the city, our crews work tirelessly to keep these spaces safe, clean, and inviting. Our recreation staff provide programs, camps, leagues, and services within these spaces that bring our community together, support healthy lifestyles, and create lifelong memories. Across all parks and facilities, our team delivers excellent customer service to members, residents, and patrons. With these incredible spaces, last year alone, we saw over 1.5 million visitors to our parks, 300,000 visits to the recreation center and natatorium alone. Over the last 10 years, the number of assets we maintain, the programs we offer, the residents we serve, and the facilities we rent have all grown significantly. Naturally, that growth brings a greater demand for supplies, for equipment, and resources to keep operations running smoothly. Oh, can you go back one? No, I'm sorry, that's right, sorry. However, during the same period, our operations and maintenance budget shown here in the columns in blue have remained relatively flat. To put that into perspective, if we had no growth in facilities or services, keeping pace with inflation would require our operations and maintenance budget to be nearly $2.7 million today. That figure is based on the Bureau of Labor Statistics Consumer Price Index, which has averaged roughly 3.6% annually over this period. Similarly to our operations and maintenance budget, staffing growth has been minimal. The green bar on this chart represents our full-time staff, those responsible for the majority of operations and maintenance functions, while the top section reflects part-time positions such as camp staff, lifeguards, and recreation center attendants. In 2024, this chart shows an increase of 11 full-time employees. It's important to note that these were not new positions funded with additional dollars. Instead, contractual maintenance funding was reallocated to create a 4-person park maintenance crew. While this shift did provide us with some personal gains and budget savings, it also transferred responsibility for the neighborhood park maintenance from contractors to our staff. That same year, we also converted 14 positions, part-time positions into 7 full-time positions at the Recreation Center and Natatorium. This change was staff and budget neutral. It was necessary to address some of the scheduling challenges that we had caused by the 999-hour annual cap on part-time employees, but it didn't provide us any additional staffing capacity to operate the facility. These staffing adjustments improved efficiency, service levels, but they do not close the gap created by unfunded positions tied to past capital improvement projects. Today, we are still more than 7,000 staff hours short of what is needed just to keep up with basic park maintenance. In addition, we lack sufficient administrative and programming staff to meet growing demand for customer service and program delivery. In short, we've reached the limit of our capacity and our bandwidth. For perspective, in recent years, the nearly 20 athletic fields have been added to our system, yet we're still managing the rentals and programming with the same number of athletic coordinators that we had when we only had 4 fields. Over the last several years, we've submitted multiple supplemental requests, including 9 positions directly tied to capital projects. Since those weren't funded, our team has focused on streamlining processes, leveraging technology to create efficiencies, and taking on more responsibilities to maintain service levels. To manage the growth of our athletic complexes and our youth sports, we developed an athletic strategic operating plan. From that plan, we implemented steps that improved coordination, efficiency, and field usage. On the technology side of things, we rolled out Facilitron. It's an online platform that automates scheduling and reservations for our facility rentals. It improves customer service, and it saves a significant amount of staff time. For maintenance, we're also replacing our aging equipment with smart technology, such as smart irrigation and lighting systems, and autonomous field striping robots and GPS-guided herbicide sprayers. Finally, we've launched a facility naming rights campaign to generate new revenue that can, in the future, be invested to help support recapitalization of existing facilities and parks. All of these steps have stretched our resources and improved services, but they don't replace the need for additional staffing and funding to meet the community's growing expectations. All of these steps we have taken so far have stretched our resources and improved our services, but there's still significant needs, both to catch up from past CIP projects and preserve the value of our park systems into the future. From a staffing perspective, we've identified 7 key positions that would provide critical support across our management and operations divisions. On the administrative side, a recreation superintendent and a membership sales specialist are needed to strengthen oversight and customer engagement. Operationally, positions such as an athletic field maintenance supervisor, concessions coordinator, natural resources educator, and dedicated natural resources maintenance crew are essential to sustaining service levels, protecting our natural areas, and keeping our parks in great condition. As Fabiola mentioned, in 2019, the voters approved a $2.5 million bond dedicated to park recapitalization. That funding has been invaluable in addressing aging infrastructure over the past 5 years. But as we near the end of that bond cycle, it's important to recognize that recapitalization needs will continue to be a significant need. To keep our facilities safe, functional, and welcoming, we must look beyond one-time bonds. Alongside new revenue strategies like the facility naming rights campaign, we should explore reoccurring funding through regular budget process So recapitalization becomes planned ongoing investment rather than a stop and start cycle. Finally, as we continue to grow, it is critical that we invest in personnel and operating costs to support our new CIP projects. For the three major projects planned for 2026 and 2027, Hickory Slough Phase 2, the Clear Creek Trail expansion, and Independence Park, the combined one-time capital equipment cost total is just under $500,000, while the annual operations and maintenance cost total just over $1 million. These costs are essential to provide the staff, equipment, and resources needed to operate and maintain the new amenities. With the right investment, we can ensure our parks, trails, and facilities remain a point of pride for the community well into the future. With that, I'll turn it over to Trent for any additional comments.
I think we're ready for any questions or comments from council.
All right, we'll open up to council for questions, comments, concerns. You have one? Mr. Byron?
Yes, thought I wrote it down here. Yeah, slide 44. So that was the prefabricated structure that we brought in. I believe we had a proposal earlier in the year for a storage building that is listed to be redesigned. Is there any opportunity to pursue something like this? What did this building cost? Do we know?
We have looked into the prefabricated storage building similar to this, and the cost is higher than what we were proposing previously for to build it from the ground up. The cost for this one was like $750. I don't have the total.
Yeah, I can check and provide that, but we are looking to do a prefabricated meeting for this storage building at Centennial.
That's what you're looking at now. I think what is the next slide, 45?
So we do have a we have an existing professional services agreement with an architect to look into that, to redesign a foundation for a less expensive building that was proposed to you, if I believe, last year.
The other question, since we're talking about that, I apologize, guys, but I want to, as we're moving in that direction and looking at it, if I remember the storage building in Centennial Park, there was $120,000 attributed to getting electricity to the building because it, obviously was all going underground. I believe it was going under the large concrete that's there and everything else. So and I understand we want the storage building in some proximity to activity, but is location of the facility, of the building on the grounds in consideration as we look at this again? Because it's gonna cost something to bring electricity to it. I get it, but if you're able to save, $85,000 or $90,000 of that electricity, location, that's also maybe looking at it. And I get it. It's a storage building. You got staff and you've got limited staff when you're on site as activities are going on. But it seemed like to me, if I remember correctly, the storage building was being planned in close proximity to the restrooms and the concession areas and everything, kind of up there in that central location. And I'm just wondering if it can't be put in a different part of the park where at least that on the cost can come down. So just a comment. I don't know if we're looking at all of those types of things as well or not.
We'll definitely revisit that with this process of design. A large portion of that area is in floodplain, and so and we're limited on amount of available space that we have there. We've looked at options for adding more parking and anything, and we're very limited with space in that site. But we'll definitely revisit that as we go through this next phase for design.
Mr. Byron, I interrupted you, but I wanted to talk about the location of that. So.
That was my next question,
Okay.
so you beat me to it anyway,
Just
which
to
is
add
fine.
And just to add to the cost that you mentioned for the Centennial restrooms, it was approximately at $580,000 for the total cost of the project.
So it's $580 for the bathrooms, which would include plumbing and everything else. If I remember correctly, the other building was
About $650.
and it was one roll-up door, one side door, and some lights, right? So, I mean, you guys are looking into it, so I'd be curious to see what the numbers come back like, if that makes more sense.
Yeah, and I think one of the things to point out was we mentioned prefab coming back with another prefab building. Prefab in the sense not of what you guys see on the Centennial Park project, but prefab or pre-designed like a metal building type structure, where this particular building they prefab constructed on site. If we go with the storage building, the idea is that we have a foundation in place and we could give a set of just generic idea to metal building manufacturer supplier, and then they are coming in designing it to meet wind load requirements and everything else, and that may potentially bring our costs significantly down. So that's the difference in the prefab that we originally went to versus a pre-engineered structure.
Okay. The other question that I have, slide 54. Looks like all of those plans are dated 2021. I know we're in the process of doing the updated Parks Master Plan right now. Just curious, how often do we do these master plans?
We update our master plan every 5 years.
5 years. Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
The Clear Creek Trail and the the multimodal master plan, those have a longer life expectancy or shelf life, but it's the actual park master plan that's updated every 5 years.
Okay. Questions, comments, Mr. Patel? Oh.
Thank you, Mayor. You know, one thing I guess long-term wise, what I would ask staff is on the west side. I've heard from several people that we don't have enough tennis courts. Is there any opportunity to put tennis courts at the sports complex, or is there any plans of that?
At the sports complex at Shadow Creek Ranch, one of the things that we're looking at are pickleball courts at this time. If the master plan comes to where we do see a lot of the community feedback and there are requests for tennis courts, we can look at the space available and try to prioritize that as well as funding permits.
I'm happy to have that group come in here and speak to you if you like. I'm telling you, they need it. And just from a personal point of view, even my daughters play, and we end up going to high school, and it's hard because these high schools lock up a lot of their assets, right? So there's not anything on the west side unless you live in Shadow Creek Ranch, and they only have 2, I believe. And the other thing I will tell you, Gary, can you go to, I didn't write the slide down, so I apologize. I believe it might be 58, sorry. You were talking about the cost and revenues. You know, I would ask you again and challenge you and your team to ensure in this past budget, what really bothered me was, I believe it was 9, maybe 10 years that you had done a price adjustment for the fees that you charge. Am I correct? It was like 10-year after 10 years that we adjusted it?
We just adjusted, our fees just went up this year. We looked at membership fees, and they were due for an update a year that the pandemic, that we faced that, and we lost a significant number of members. And so we wanted to rebuild our membership numbers, get them back up to the same levels of where they were at. We reached that number about 1.5 years ago, but that was also the same time that we were doing the natatorium recapitalization project. And so we wanted to be very strategic about when that increased. And so this was in FY26, we brought those to council.
Yeah, and I guess I would be curious to see if you guys have just done some internal numbers, what your fees are compared to private businesses, right? Like LA Fitness. I know they don't offer the same amenities, but I know 24-hour fitness on the west side does. And the reason I say that is it's very hard if you go from 10 years, but your costs are continuing to rise. And that's what really irks me, that, you know, taxpayers, a lot of taxpayers who are not using your facility or can't because it's far, are subsidizing a lot of it, right? And I think it's time for this, you know, council to tell you, to say, challenge you to say, hey, you need to figure out a way to break even at least. Because we've pumped in, what, $3 million just doing the renovation to the natatorium now?
Between the air handling replacements and the recapitalization within the inside of the pool, it was a little bit more than that. It was, I think, $5 million.
So how do you recoup that, right? Because it's going to come due in 15 years, right? I mean, and I know we got $3 million from ISD, but that's not coming back. And so I would ask you, you know, one of the things this council may even want to consider is selling that asset and getting out of that. We're not in that business of running natatoriums. We're not. And, you know, I mean, it's a long-term idea to think about, to say, hey, is there an opportunity to sell it and get out? But I certainly, and since we're talking about this, and I guess for you to think about in the future when you do your budgets, is to say, we got to figure out how to constantly keep up with just like everybody wants a 5% raise in this budget season and previous, I'm sure you will ask again next year, we got to figure out a way how you guys break even. I mean, for the facilities that are being used. I'm not asking you for the parks. I'm asking you for the sports complex that's being rented by outsiders. I'm asking you for the natatorium that people who are members are using it. I'm asking you for the summer camps you guys have. Those things need to have a fair market value. If you guys are providing this quality service, they should be able to do it. So that's one thing I'll tell you. On page 61, you talked about a salesperson, I believe, that you guys are hiring for just for membership. Have you considered, you know, a salesperson, not just for the membership, but to really go out there and kind of sell your facilities to these tournaments? I know through CVB, because they're supposed to be doing that. But I don't know how that partnership is, because you had to balance both. I get it, from the constituent side being available, and then obviously the CVB. But I'm kind of excited to see what you guys do with the turf that's happening, the soccer fields, and on West Side, right? So I think that's really important, that, you know, there's a good collaboration of bringing tournaments outside to really help you pay for it. But you got to, again, I'm telling you, these tournaments, they're having CVB, the money they're paying themselves is ridiculous. I have friends in that business, and they make a lot of money on taxpayers' backs. And so that irks me, just to say, how come we're not at least getting our fair share? So those are just some of my comments, and thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Fernandez?
Thank you, Mayor. Carrie, I believe I heard you correctly, and one of the things that I liked, if I heard correctly, in a way to bring in some added revenue, did you mention something about a naming rights campaign or something that y'all are looking at? Can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
Yes, so we went through and did an assessment of all of our facilities, athletic complexes, dog parks, playgrounds, and we have a value. I can recirculate a memo that we shared with City Council a few years, I think it was about a year and a half ago, that outlines what our intentions are and what some of those values that we feel like out of sponsorships and naming rights for those facilities, we can collect that revenue. Through our partnership with the Forever Parks Foundation, any of those naming rights that we are actually successful in selling would then go to the Forever Parks Foundation to be invested. And then with that funding, then if we let it, you know, if we continue to invest in that fund, then we can start pulling some of the interest or some of those funds from that revenue to help us with some of that park recapitalization. You know, again, going back to just our bandwidth and our staffing capacities, but we sell sponsorships for a lot of our events and festivals, and I think roughly about 40, maybe 50% of the cost of our special events are funded through sponsorship dollars. We're also working very closely with the Forever Parks Foundation right now to look at, to work on projects like Independence Park. And so then you have to look at our capacity and how much time can we get out and really focus on selling those things. Our special events and development manager has been very, very successful in a lot of her fundraising initiatives. And I expect her to continue with that success. And we're talking about it. We just haven't sold any of the naming rights yet, but we have a few leads.
Yeah, I would like to, if you don't mind, send out that email again. I think that would be great, since that was before my time on council. I would also like to see, you know, the revenues that you are generating that are assisting, perhaps, and I'm not trying to put more work upon you, but I think it matters, because if we're looking at the future and we're looking at revenues, you know, some of the points that Rushi had made, you know, finding ways, creative ways to bring in some revenue. So for me, I'd like to see, you know, a little bit of, you know, what y'all have done, how successful or building from something that y'all have started, in addition to those naming rights, and kind of what that plan is, which I'm assuming will be laid out in that email.
Yes, and typically this time of the year, it might be a little bit delayed this time, but we produce for the recreation center and natatorium alone, we have a cost recovery expectation that City Council set of 75%. Each year we produce a memo showing what our actual cost recovery is. And last year, I believe we were roughly 85% cost recovery last year. Our membership numbers are higher than they have ever been. And so we're projecting that to be even higher this year. We're also starting to see a significant uptick in number of natatorium rentals. When you look at the way that building operates, you have your members that drive a lot of the revenue. The natatorium hasn't had that same level of as far as being a revenue driver, and since the natatorium recapitalization, we're getting a lot of people are talking about our facility, and we are scheduling every corner of that building. So with that revenue that's coming in as well, I expect once we run those numbers to see some improvements there as well.
And I think that, looking at that, and you're probably already on it, is either, y'all are very thin with staffing, as been spoken about, either trying to find a way to allocate, someone to keep doing that because it's being successful. And as it grows, maybe if it does require a new employee to come in, as long as we are seeing that revenue generated. So just thoughts. Last thing, Mayor, that I want to say is I just want to thank all staff who did these presentations today, everyone that spoke today. I know it takes a lot of work. I know it takes a lot of, putting stuff together, the videos and so forth. But I just want to say thank y'all to everyone that worked on that.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Carrie, for the naming rights, are those advertised somewhere?
Not as well as they could potentially be, and that kind of goes back to my comment just in regards to bandwidth and trying to prioritize the funding that we need right now for our events and then the major project that we have coming up. And so we have the information, and Kelly's very vocal about sharing that with any contacts that she has, but we're just not quite ready to put it all out on the website yet, but it's coming soon.
And I don't know how to say this other than just say it. Is it only for people who have passed away?
Oh, no, absolutely not. We'll take, so we have two different types of naming rights. There's a commemorative naming rights, and that's where you would see a building named after, like the Ed Thompson Park. That was commemorative naming rights.
Okay.
Financial naming rights falls under a different policy, and those are typically you would either see foundations or large corporate organizations, companies that want to sponsor those. And then those agreements, you would resell them every 5 to 10 years.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Koza?
Thank you, Mayor. Carrie, on the cost recovery on the Natatorium Rec Center, did I hear that you said we were at 85%?
Real close to that. That's a really close ballpark last year.
Okay, because if my memory serves me correctly, pre-COVID we were about 105, and it had dropped, whether you want to say during COVID or after COVID, to about 55. So we built that back up. I don't know historically, I just remember however many years ago it was that we saw that slide, that we were actually, whether we were making money or, breaking even, whatever. So we still have a little bit of room to grow to be able to max out what we were at one point.
Yes, we do. And I think we have a lot of potential to get very close to that this year, while also still providing a location for a lot of events and activities that are public benefit. So large career fairs, trainings. We are one of the largest facilities to be able to host like large gymnastics meets, things like that. And so we still do shelters, warming centers. That's a community building as well. And so I believe that our team has been very, very successful in still providing those benefits to our community, but while also moving that needle over to the towards the direction of cost recovery.
Okay, sounds good. And did you say within this year or within a year to be able to get?
Let me run. So our memberships, our membership revenues, and our natatorium rental revenues far exceeded our expectations, and so I need to before I commit to anything and tell you I think this is where we are, I need to be able to run all of those numbers, and so as soon as we do, we'll share that memo with you all and get you that information.
Okay, that's fine. And then one other question: was it approximately 2 years ago that we leased the natatorium to the school district with a payment roughly in that time frame.
That's
So are we currently thinking about what the next year's rental rates and stuff like that with the school district are?
Yes, and so the way that that agreement is written, there's a certain time frame which we have to give them notice that their rent, their fees will go up. But we also have to look and compare that with their facility usage. So the prices that they are paying was based off of the number of the amount of time that they're in that facility. And so as long as their usage of the facility remains the same, then yes, their fees will go up. But if their usage has declined, we might see that balance out. So we're also working on running all of those numbers as well.
Okay, and if my memory serves me correctly on that, was that about 122?
And 22, that's correct.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Mr. Carbone, you got anything? Sounds good.
Can I ask a question just to clarify? Explain to me the naming rights, all the money from the naming rights are going to go into Forever Foundation? Doesn't matter where the facility is?
When we enter into a naming rights agreement, we will have an MOU with the Forever Parks Foundation that very clearly spells out exactly where that money is going to go and what it will be used for. And so we have the ability to negotiate that or make that decision when the revenue comes in, when we actually sell a naming rights. It's our intention to take that money, allow the Forever Parks Foundation to invest that money, and then we get to use the interest off of those funds for future recapitalization.
So just so I understand, let's say a park, Independence Park, if you have a naming right, Memorial Hermann gives you $1 million, you're going to turn around and give that money to the Forever Foundation to put in an investment account.
Independence Park is going to be a little bit different because they've launched a capital campaign to actually raise funds to build that phase 2 of that park. And so that funds, any of the naming rights that are sold along with that capital campaign will be used to enhance the phase 2. If we came in 5 years later, then yes, that would be our intention, would be to, say we resold the naming rights, then that would be our intention to have them put that into a fund.
Okay, sorry. So when was that decided that these funds that we're selling naming rights would go into a foundation? I apologize. When was that decided?
The Forever Parks Foundation was created 15 years ago, and at that point, the city and we created a contract between the city and the foundation, and all funds that they raise come back to the city 100%.
So I'm very confused. So the naming rights, they're handling the naming rights for all our facilities?
They will. City council though will have the final approval of any naming rights agreement though.
So these assets belong to the taxpayer. The naming rights funds that come in are not going to come technically to us. It's going to go to a nonprofit. And then they have the right to invest that money and then give us the returns on that money. Is that right?
Yes, unless we agree to something otherwise where we request it for, we request funds from that fund to completely renovate a park.
So,
but it's being invested in our parks facilities, not in.
Yeah, I guess I get that. I didn't realize that they are.
So many times you might have a Memorial Hermann, you might have a HEB or any of these types of folks. If they gave the money to the city's not a 501c3. They don't get the write-off necessary that enhances their tax liability, for doing it. So the Forever Parks Foundation, as Carrie mentioned, set up many years ago, is an arm or an extension through the Parks Department to give an outlet for a company to do that, to have tax status, to be able to donate those monies.
But if it was a contract between the city, wouldn't that be a legitimate business expense?
Not necessarily. I don't know. I mean, I'm not a.
Mr. Carbone?
I mean, it would be for advertising.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
But, so, yeah. I mean, I guess, Mayor, I apologize. I don't know if the rest of the members I guess they knew about this, but for me, it's hard to understand how we would take our assets and let a foundation control the funds that come in. And I understand the purpose of the foundation. I have no problem with that. But we may talk about significant amount of money coming eventually. And this council has to understand, they may be, remember, EDC started out with a couple of $1,000 in 1995. Today is 15 million. So if that happens, you got to have a clawback. There has to be, and I don't know if we have it or not.
Ms. Carey, if I understand correctly, it's with the agreement with Forever Parks, the money is the city's money. Forever Parks is managing it, basically.
Yes, that's
So
correct.
Forever Parks can't just keep it. Like, the city can call those dollars whenever we want. What the agreement in relation to the naming rights is concerned is, rather than, let's just say Kelsey Siebold comes in and says, I'll give you $200,000 to name Independence Park. And we just take that $200,000 and put it in the general fund and use it for something in parks. Instead, it goes into, as a tax write-off on the 501c3 for them, it goes into an investment fund, and we'll use the interest to do other projects, and that 200 sits there. But the city could call it at any point in time. Council could say, hey, go pull that 200 because we don't want to recap a splash pad in a bond program. We're just going to take that 200 out. It's still our money.
And to that
Right?
point, so let's talk about the Ed Thompson Inclusive Playground. Because, you know, the state, what the state gave towards that was about $750,000. The rest of that, the Forever Parks Foundation went out and solicited donations through Centerpoint, HEB, and the like. So about another $500,000, $600,000 on top of the $750,000. It's my understanding 100% of those dollars went back into that park. It's not like they set up an investment fund over here and giving dollars over here. 100% of that went into that park. And I understand where you're headed with the questions, which we should always be mindful of what might happen and could happen and those types of things. The other reason why the foundation was set up is so other foundations would give money to a foundation where they might not, while the city might not be an eligible partner for them to give, they can give it. And the Christopher Reeve Foundation may have been one of those who has given money to the one in Shadow Creek. Otherwise, the city wouldn't be a eligible recipient of that, but the Forever Parks Foundation is. So those dollars come through the foundation, but ultimately ended up in that playground.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, Mayor. And I guess my concern is this. So if we sell a naming rights for 5 years for $1 million, that $1 million is going to sit on the sideline investing.
No, it's going into the park.
But I thought they were investing
No, it's going
that
into
money.
the park.
If it's part of a capital campaign, that money, you know, if we sell something for a new project, that would go directly into the park. If we went and sold a naming rights for the splash pad at Southdown Park, our idea would be that we would utilize that revenue to help fund recapitalization. So in 15 years, when we needed to make significant repairs to that splash pad, we have funding available that we can pull from.
And if you sold naming rights and that fund, if that need was immediate, you could turn around and say, hey, we're just going to go ahead and use full amount.
We could, yes.
That's what I was trying to say. We can pull it.
And again, good questions, so we're mindful of it. Absolutely. Any other questions, comments? All right, seeing none, looks like we'll go to the update on the 23 bond program.
So as Mr. Epster mentioned in the beginning of the presentation, we wanted to take this opportunity and provide an update on the projects included in the voter-approved 2023 bond program. As you can see on this slide and the following, we have several projects that have started already or will be starting soon. On this slide in particular, we have 4 drainage projects that are in the design with estimated construction completion either 2027 or 2028. The Shadow Creek Ranch, the Ocean Point Court project, which is currently in construction, will be completed by January 2026. Here, the additional 2023 bond program voter-approved drainage projects. Most of these we are in the process of selecting consultants, doing site investigations, and doing our due diligence to ensure we collect necessary information to assist in finalizing the contract for professional services. Most of these projects will be starting contract negotiations this October, and we are assuming start of design sometime in January based on how long it would take until we can issue a notice to proceed. And here are additional projects that were voter approved. As you can see, this list includes transportation, parks, and facility projects. The Independence Park Phase 2 project is planned to start in mid-2026 per Parks Department's request, as they are expecting additional funds come from the Forever Parks Foundation fundraising, as mentioned earlier in this presentation. And we also have the Fire Station number 7, which we have already a professional services contract that is scheduled to be presented to council in December for consideration and authorization. So this concludes the updates.
Is that it?
Yes, sir. So I believe we got a memo update that'll be going out this week. Do we have additional?
Yes, that we're providing additional information, more detailed information on this, on the memo that will going out on this Thursday packet.
That's more detailed schedule information. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes, sir. So we'll have that out this Thursday in the packet.
All right, sounds good. Mr. Koza?
Yeah, on slide 65, 66, either one of them. So on the right-hand side, on the completion date, is that completion of design or is that completion of construction?
The full
Completion
project.
of the project.
Okay, that's what, because before on 65, it had design, but then it said construction, and it kind of confused me as to what the completion was. So on 66, because I know I've got one lady that every year calls me and tells me she hopes she can live to see the completion of Isla.
There's a resident, she calls me too, and I mentioned to her that we are moving forward with the design for fiscal. It may be the same
So
thing.
I just wanted to make sure I had the right.
And looking at that, the comment I was going to make was when you look at, especially on the drainage side, our promise to the taxpayers and the voters when we took this out in 23 is that these projects would be either started and or completed in 5 years. So 5 years is 28, and you go back and look. A lot of these, the design will be underway. The latest date I see is early 27. So, moving in that direction. Obviously, it still goes back to our ability to deliver and the capacity that we have with managers, managing these projects. So we're keeping with that in all of this. I'm looking same thing on the other projects as well. So it seems like it's working well. We always wish we could do it faster, but we still got to do it timely. And are there any hangups in design? I haven't heard of anything.
I think on one of the furthest out ones, there is a coordination with TxDOT's FM 1128 project that's impacting, the original schedule from what was planned there.
Okay. And they've had some struggles on that overpass project. I'm trying to remember. It almost looks like they've stopped. But it's coordination on something. They're waiting for something with the landfill or something back out there. So that is impacting a lot of our area back over there. Any other questions, comments? You have something?
Yeah.
Okay. I looked this way when you reached, so I didn't see it.
No.
Apologies.
No, that's okay. Have we, I see that the Shadow Creek Ranch project, slide 65, last one on there, is planned to be done this year. Have we finished any projects off of the bond program as of yet?
On the 2023, no.
No. Okay. And I assume, which is dangerous, which is why I'm asking the question, the memo that's coming out, you said it's a little bit more detailed scheduling as far as kind of show these phases between design and construction and whatnot and play that out a little bit more. It's because this is confusing, like Member Koza said.
Yes, I haven't seen it yet, but that's the
The idea?
expectation and the idea. Yes, sir.
Okay.
The layout and spreadsheet that we have that's online that you can pull up, I think it gets updated quarterly or every 6 months. It's got what you're talking about. Here's the timeline for design, here's the timeline for construction, and here's the timeline for completion. So you can kind of look and see, you can see what's in progress currently, and give updates that way. It's an 11 by 17. When you pull it all up, it's 11 by 17 type.
Yeah,
Spreadsheet.
it'd be significant.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure, and thank y'all for putting this in to this project. Again, like you mentioned, we committed to the taxpayers that we would get this started or finished within those 5 years. So just keeping this in front of us and keeping it top of mind, I think is important. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Sounds good. Yeah. Last call. Y'all got any follow-up?
No, I think we had a couple questions and a few things jotted down that we'll do some follow-up on, Mayor. Thank you.
Sounds good. Like Mr. Fernandez said, I want to thank each one of you that presented. Well done, good job. I know it's, in some cases, it's out of your element. You're not used to coming in and talking to us. So I appreciate the professionalism and the way you guys handle yourself in each and every one of these presentations. So with that, we will adjourn this City Council special meeting agenda at 5:37.